Welcome to Hicgi News Agency.
Hicgi News Agency Live. Welcome.
Agency. Hicgi News Agency. This is Hicgi News Agency.
This is Hicgi News Agency.
News Agency live.
We are live. Hicgi News Agency. This is Hicgi News Agency.
Uganda has experienced one of the most traumatic historical events related to politics. This country in 1970 was experiencing one of the worst dictatorial regimes that included the disappearance of people, killings mercilessly. You have watched movies like The Last King of Scotland, where you saw people fired at Clock Tower because of politics. While the country was experiencing such a difficult time in the politics of its history, there was one of the prominent figures in the history of this country who played a significant role to extend humanitarian assistance in terms of education, welfare, to hundreds and hundreds or even thousands of children. Some of them were coming from neighboring countries like Rwanda, and even here picked from the streets of Kampala under his care. The founder of Africa Foundation is Reverend Dr. Kefa Ssempangi today on the Senior Citizens Talk of Hicgi News Agency. I welcome all our viewers from Milan, Italy, United States of America, Texas, from Sydney, Australia, and back here in Mukono on the shores of Lake Victoria, where Dr. Reverend Kefa Ssempangi, you're most welcome.
Thank
Senior
you.
Citizens Talk.
Thank you.
Just like I've said, you have a very unique part in the history of this country. In terms of politics, you are from a minister, you're from a member of parliament, you are a religious leader, and you also participated in the political changes of this country. Should we know, and where does your journey begin?
My journey starts where I was born, not very far from here,
Okay.
a place called Kauna. My education was not easy, but God let me through until I got to Makerere University, where I qualified in 1967 with a BA. Then I transferred. I was taken to London to study for my master's, then to Holland for my PhD, and came back to this country in 1971 as a lecturer at Makerere University.
Wow. What were you lecturing?
In fine art.
Wow, fine. That's why I've seen this beautiful mansion of yours. Thank you for the gracious lunch you've extended to us and my crew. I can see the art.
Yes. And then I studied the history of art at the Free University of Amsterdam. Then I came to this country in 1971, and I was a lecturer at Makerere University. That's when I also worked with a man, an evangelist who came from Ghana, John Obili, about 2-3 years until he was deported from this country, Idi Amin.
Idi Amin deported John Obo. Wow.
Yes.
What was he being accused of?
As you know, Idi Amin was a Muslim, and Obili came with a lot of spiritual force, and followers were many. That surprised Idi Amin, why this man was so popular and so many people were turning to him. That was his fear.
Some people are skeptical of the miracles John Obili performed. And would you tell us, I think, were you an interpreter, driver to that man?
No, three of us. At that time, there was a secretary for religious affairs called Ntende. He was a man from Busoga. And the three of us went to see him because I was getting some disappointments with the missionary work at Makere, near the university of the university. So three of us went to see Ntende, and he said that a religious man who has just come from Ghana. Why don't you go and meet with him? And he said, well, you come here, I will follow you, we'll go together. So we went to Hicgi. That's where this man was stationed. And as soon as John Obiri saw me, he said, you are a lecturer at Makerere University. My interpreter has some problems. Why don't you come and help me? And that evening, that was our first service at Hicgi. My surprise was that John Obiri was holding a Bible in English. My Bible was in Uganda. Then he would say, let us open Matthew 4, chapter 4, or John 4, chapter 4, verse 2. And I'll be fibbing to get where Matthew was. And John Obiri will hold the Bible, the one in Uganda, and press it, and then he put a finger at Matthew 4, verse 4. I got so surprised. Yes.
Oh my
But that was one of the unique things about John Obiri. And Obiri was a preacher. And he really wanted the Africans to be independent from donor gifts from America. He said, we can live on our own without begging or looking for the Americans, because the Americans put their interpretation somewhere, and I think he was, even before that homosexuality stuff, John Obiri was opposed to the ideas of the Americans in their interpretation of the Bible.
My pastor, rest in peace, Pastor Nakafel Zelbabel from Masaja. We buried him near the border of Tanzania, in Kasensero. She told me that they were at White Nile, and she was not a pastor at that time. And but she had a complication in her stomach. I think it was sick for so many years. And then when they took her to the White Nile, where John Obiri was, he asked for cotton and said, I'm going to operate this woman because she's under influence of witchcraft. And she opened her belly and removed 2 scorpions from the belly. And then she was healed. Had it not been my pastor to tell me that, I would not believe the story. Did you witness such miracles that he was doing? Some even say that he even called back the sun, which had already set. Is that true?
Yes, Obiri, he was a very simple man, but he was so committed to God. And when he was being deported from here by Idi Amin, I escorted him to the airport with other believers. Then he said to me, Kefa, it will be your work to replace me as I leave this country. So I said to John Obiri, but you see, you have, you give out some waters, you use the candles, you use incense, but how am I going to use these things? I'm not a Catholic. And say, yeah, Kefa, you've never been a Catholic. For me, I have been a Catholic. And when I speak, many Catholics follow what I say because they know what we are doing in the Catholic Church. So they follow me very, very closely. But for you, you've never been a Catholic, you need 2 things, prayer and fasting. 2 things, you don't need any other thing. And when I was interpreting for him, of course, would be invited to several occasions. And John Obi could spend 2 weeks fasting. He would say, sit near me, and he would say, please eat faster. And he would take after that, I would take my plate in front of him, and I remove his plate, my place, because he never wanted other people to know that he's fasting.
Kivumbi Logistics Limited, your number one customs clearing and forwarding cargo consolidation warehouse company. We do air shipment, worldwide sea shipment, transportation, tax consultation. Kivumbi Logistics Limited is a competent company specializing in logistics clearing and forwarding services. We have the necessary skills and resources and partnerships to tackle sizable projects to our clients' satisfaction. We are located at Mganziraza Plaza near the entrance of Katwe, Kampala, Uganda. Call us on +256 779 634 328 or +256 701 784 648 or visit our website glovylogistics.com or write to johnglovy@gmail.com. Glovy Logistics Limited, your number one clearing and forwarding company.
The secret of John's secret was really praying and committing himself to prayer. He did many miracles which I have not seen since John left this country.
Like which miracles? We need to know.
That healing, as you say, he will operate somebody without using a knife or scissors or whatever, and just prayer, he would remove a thing stuck in somebody's body without an operation. And that he did to several people. Some people will be brought to Kibuye, and you see that the fellow is dead. And they just mix some water, splash water, and that man becomes alive. That I saw several times. It was not anything new to him. But for him, all the time, it was two things I observed: prayer and fasting. Several days. And he was really committed.
Wow.
Yes.
Away from, is there anything to say about John Obi before we move on?
Today we have some preachers called the man of God, and John Obi never wanted to be called a man of God.
Oh.
And one thing, he never took any money to pray for somebody. He never demanded for any money. He did all these miracles, and people brought gifts to him in appreciation for what he had done for in their lives, for their families. He would pray for people's children to go to America, to go for further studies, pray for people who have no money to receive money, and somebody be walking and coming back and say, I received a miracle yesterday. Somebody gave me 200,000. I never worked for this man. I don't know why. He just saw me and had pity on me. And it was to stop. I didn't know how this man knew that I had need for money. So in terms of jobs, people were not working. He will pray and say, today, as you work, you get a job. And somebody comes back the following day to give testimonies. There was hundreds of testimonies. And if you allowed testimonies at the service, you wouldn't have any preaching, because you'd be overtaken by people's testimonies. That is the way John Obi was. And John Obi, in preaching, every word he said, he must point out where that scripture is. He would bring back to the people, getting back to the Bible, and he knew the scriptures from Genesis to Revelation. He was very, very, he was a good student of the Word of God. Yes.
I was told he died in Uganda.
Yes.
And when some religious leaders or pastors went to Ghana to bury him,
yes,
that there was some kind of what can I say? either some rituals which were done which would not reflect uh, his religious coat which he was wearing. What do you say about that?
You must know something about John Obiri. John Obiri had 2 shrines in Ghana. John Obiri was in witchcraft and was a Catholic.
He was a Catholic, not a born again.
A very staunch Catholic. He was born afterwards. And when he was born again, that's why I told you that he brought some of those things of the Roman Catholics, like the holy water, this altar, but also these candles. And all the things as you see, and this water where you see what they splash people in the Catholic Church. And he brought all that tradition with him. But
okay.
He never went back to the shrine.
So in Ghana he was a witch doctor before.
Yes.
And he was a Catholic.
Yes.
So at least the records are set.
And the two shrines are there in Ghana. As a Christian and before he was become a Christian. And some people go and they say, oh, this man was in witchcraft. But he had already been saved from witchcraft. Oh. So that's the background of John Obiri. And some people do misunderstand him. But he never used witchcraft.
I understand.
No.
So how do those of Kakande's tap? Because one time I went to his church and I saw the pictures of John Obiri there.
He has many followers here, including the new one called John Johnson. John Johnson, after several years that John was buried in Ghana, Kato went with some other people for where he was buried, and he saw the grave. And when he saw the grave, it was covered with the dust. So he looked for a hand, something to sweep this dust from the grave, and there was nothing with him. So he took his jacket and started the cleaning the grave. As was doing it, John Obiri spoke to him and said, go back to Uganda and finish the work which I never did. And today that man has the biggest church at Rubaga. In fact, he was launching that church. There were almost 20,000 people. And now he's actually building a cathedral that will hold over 20,000 people. That is, he never saw Obiri. He only went to see, was admiring this man, and he went to see the place where he was buried in Ghana.
Amazing. So for you, you are a reverend of Protestants, reverend of born agains. What is the religious affiliation you are?
For me, I was born again in the Anglican Church.
Oh.
Which was there for fellowship. And my headmaster, Mr. Bikangaga, when these people, the Pentecostal people came and put a church just outside the Makerere College School, he had a preacher, he had an interpreter, that man from Canada, Hugh Rezero. And Bikanga used to say to hear, and said, this man who's interpreting is not understanding that white man. So John Bikanga took me to that man, a Canadian man, and he became an interpreter.
Wow.
Yes, and it was during that time when I finished Makerere, and I went to Makerere College School. I went to London. 1969. I had some little money on me, and I said, why don't I visit where these people are coming from in Canada and to see their work there. And in 1969, I went to Canada. Well, we had a woman here who was very, very poor, Nakafel, but we were attending that full gospel church, and they had pictures of this woman and her children in churches in Canada, and people are donating, bringing clothes, shoes.
For more than 10 years, Kefa International Group has been your number one partner in tours and travel consultancy. We also do real estate, legal services, ICT services, and much more. Find us on kebinternationalgroup.com or write to us at info@kebinternationalgroup.com. You may also write to us at PO Box 35827 Kampala, Uganda, or visit us on Namaswa Hill off Entebbe Highway. Call us on +256 200937566 or +256 3948632 or 46. Or you can send us a plus on WhatsApp on +256 752 1375 66. Kefa International Group, your number one real business partner.
Bed covers, blankets. For 3 years, you are transferring those things to Uganda to help this woman. And they were using this woman's picture. I returned here from London, 1971, from Amsterdam, and found that woman in the same picture. In fact, it was even worse. Her children had the best, no shoes, and the worst clothes on, and even their hair getting brown because they were not getting enough food to eat. So as I went to the pastor, L.H.D, and I told him, 1969 I was in your country, in Canada, and I saw pastors donating clothing particularly for this woman. And up to now, her picture is distorted. That's why they wrote a book as a booklet. Missionary days are over, and the man really hated me because of this point. And I built a house at near the church, and I opened a home for homeless children. It came from that story I'm telling you.
So the Africa Foundation is coming from that point.
From that point, because of my disappointment with the missionaries, that they were taking ugly pictures, and these are pictures you find in Canada, in America, that people we are with the labels on us, that we are people who do not care ourselves, people who are so poor because we don't want to work, we are lazy, and so on. And then I was writing to these people in Canada, and I said, you have been sending clothes, you have been sending shoes for Nakafel for 3 years.
Of all the strength that your sweat goes, in every single moment that you wake up early in the morning, go to sleep, bed late, you want to have a beautiful home. Acquiring a beautiful home makes your dreams come true. We at Kefa International Group are proud to extend our deepest in strength, expertise and team to make your home beautiful. We do stone building and carving on all the nature of buildings that you would like to hold. Stones make a home so beautiful that you cannot underestimate the beauty of stones. From every perfect stone, every carve and every crafting, we do and we achieve this. At Kefa International Group, we don't only do that, we also paint your homes. Every nature of paint that you would love to make your home beautiful is available at Kefa International Group. A well-dedicated team is here to make it happen for you. Contact us today so we can make your home the most beautiful and secure of all at friendly prices. That is what we are promising you, with a lot of dedication and sincerity, honesty, and every every category that you want to achieve. This is what we are talking about. Cape International Group, your number one partner to make a beautiful home for you with great services of painting and stone. This is what we are. Call us today on +256 773 1375 66.
Short commercial break. We are still with Reverend Dr. Kefa Ssempangi, the founder of Africa Foundation, a man who is celebrated in Uganda and beyond the continent. Reverend Doctor, we are leaving Prophet John. Anything fine about Prophet John? Did he give you anything like powers to do miracles? Anything up for yourself?
John couldn't give you power to do miracles. And you say that. But you say, as a preacher, you are full of fears. You are scared, you are so fearful. Because when the Bible tells you, Jesus tells you, they will lay hands on the sick and the sick will recover. But it doesn't say that you will lay hands on the sick and heal. Because the one who heals is not the preacher. The preacher does not heal. He tells you and God confirms his word. So you do your work and you do your part and God will do it. That was his conviction. That he was not to be scared to pray for somebody who is dead. Because he knows in the long run, he's not the one who going to raise that man. But that was the work of God. Because miracles are not done by man. Miracles are done by God. That is a lesson that I got from Jonathan. Not to be scared.
When you started the foundation, it was during the time of Idi Amin. What makes you leave or escape from Uganda? Could you tell us that journey? What exactly happened?
I was preaching actually, and a certain man, either he was a minister or a cabinet, whatever minister of Idi Amin, came to Kibuye and he listened to me for about almost an hour. Then he said, Kefa, I want you to come and preach. My people, my family, I live in Kororo. So he told us the time and asked Jolly Jekwanuka to accompany me to his house. So we drove together and we arrived at his house near Vimba's home and near the American ambassador's house.
I know the residence of the American ambassador.
That's where Okero lived. We arrived there at 4, the time appointed, and we arrived, we found the front door half open. But there was nobody. And Giorgio, he was a heavy man, he was spoken, and said, this man, the home minister, invites us here at 4. 4, there's nobody. But then eventually we entered in the sitting room. And of course, the house, there was nobody. And Giorgio said, now we are sitting here for 30 minutes. Why don't you go home? We stood up to go. A child appeared in the back door and he waved to us. And Giorgio said, this young boy, your father invited us for such a time. And I said, Giorgio, please don't quarrel with the young fellow. He's not the one who invited us. The one who invited us is not here. So the child pointed in the back of the door, and there, and said, because the boy was speechless, we looked at the back, and it was full of blood. The whole family had been murdered. But this boy, because he was under the bed, was spared. He could not make a word. So I took this child to my home at Nakurabi, Kasubi. That's where we were staying. And after 4 days, the boy started to tell us how his his family was killed. All of them were killed.
The minister and his family.
And the minister and his family. And the boy said they killed first my father, my mother, my brother, my brother, my brother.
That was Idi Amin.
Yeah, that was Idi Amin. So, by the way, in Idi Amin's time, it must be understood, they never say killed. They will say disappeared. Whole family disappeared because you'll be picked up, beaten, killed, and be taken to an unknown place, never to be seen again. So that was okay. That's how the man ended his life. So there was a man who was born again at Hicgi. He came. He was a member of the State Research Bureau.
Intelligence, Idi Amin's intelligence bureau.
Yes. So the man came and said, our boss is on the way to kill you. So please, let's go outside the house. And because my group is about to come here. That's how I, 1971, that's how I escaped, in 79. And so by the time they arrived, I had already left. And this man put me on a bus to Nairobi the following day. And I said, have a good time outside. And when I arrived in Nairobi, through really thin and thick, because the bus is going to Nairobi. You have to be stopped at the border to be checked. And when I walked out the bus, there was a tall soldier, was really drunk. And he said to me, do you have any money? And I said, Kenyan money? Yes. I said, 50,000. The man said, oh, can you give me that money? And he counted, and he gave me 100. Because it was by law.
Yes.
You can cross to Nairobi with more than 100 of Kenyan shillings. And that's how I got through with my wife. So we got into a hotel in Nairobi. There was many of these Nyanya people in that hotel. The following day, we had to leave for the airport. And we didn't have very enough money, but it was
But did you have visa to get out of the country?
No, I had no visa. No visa.
So how are you going to do it?
Because my professor in Holland sent me a prepaid ticket. And when you go to, before we left Nairobi, I found a man from Busia. He was speaking Uganda. I had a small passport, so the man was carrying my stuff. So I gave him 20,000. The man said, no, you are my Muganda, my brother. I can't take money from you. But as we were crossing the customs, you had to pay 20 as airport ticket.
Okay.
Taxi. It used to be done here in Entebbe also. But if we didn't have that money, we couldn't have sat on that.
Even if you had the air ticket?
No, you couldn't. You had to pay that money. So when my wife looked at me and my tears were in my eyes, she said, what's the problem? I said, have you seen God's hand? If that money took the 20 Kenyan money, we couldn't have jumped on this aeroplane. So I saw God's hand of leading through the border. That was miraculous crossover, and at the airport, and go to pass to Holland. Following day, the friend of Professor Rukma, Edmund Clown, was the president of Western Seminary in America. He came to visit his friend, and Professor Rukma gave him all the story how I escaped. The man said, well, I'm the president of that Western Seminary, and I'm giving you a grant. So he went to America, raised the money, air ticket, everything, sent it to Professor Rukma. Professor Rukma drove us to Hicgi to get a visa. And Professor Rukma happened to have to mention this is a refugee. And the man said, we don't deal with the refugees. For an hour, the professor begged, and the man said, no. So we drove back to Amsterdam. Because I got my PhD in Amsterdam, I knew that city. And there was a small place called the word American Students.
American students.
Yeah, so I said to Professor, why don't I try this place? It's American student. Now I have a letter from America. I think I'm part of the American students.
Was that an extension of the embassy or what?
No, I don't know. I don't know. It's even today that helps you there. The Rex Museum. So the Professor Lockman goes and know it. I said, we have spoken for an hour to the American ambassador. He told us you can't. I said, I want to try. And as a freshman, I walked to this man, the American students. The man who had some papers here like a policeman, and he looked through my passport. He read the letter from this professor in America. And he took his stamp. I said, have a good time in America.
He's going to give visa, which the ambassador denied you.
Denied. But that was God's hand. I had no plan to go to America. When I left here, my plan was to go to Holland to hide from this man Idi Amin. And I didn't think that it could even take a year before Idi Amin died. But Idi Amin continued living for 9 years.
For 9 years?
Yes.
Was Amin interested in you also, or had he become an enemy to him? What happened?
Because as I told you that when John Obi left the church,
yes,
he left the church in my hands.
Oh.
And we had big crowds at that place.
Oh my God.
And the miracle, when John Obi left, the miracle did not leave that place.
They continued to happen.
And the number of people kept on gathering. The momentum. And so when with the story of this child Okero, Idi Amin took more interest. That's why Marere, Amin's main assassin, was commissioned to come and arrest him.
Oh.
Yes. It was God's hand to be protected from Idi Amin's killings. And we traveled all the way to America. I arrived there in 1974. In 1976, I completed my Master of Divinity in Westminster Seminary. Then we were invited to Moshi.
Moshi in Tanzania.
In Tanzania.
We heard of we studied about the Moshi Conference.
Yes.
What was the conference for the person who never studied about it?
Moshi was organized by Nyerere because Nyerere didn't want to appear to the international community that he was the one attacking Uganda. So when you are invited us to go to Tanzania, and you said Ugandans are preparing to fight Idi Amin. But it was not the soldiers were from Tanzania who removed Idi Amin.
So how many were you in the conference?
Over 70, maybe 72. Our president, Museveni was there. The Lutwa, Mwanga, but Mwanga, Museveni, Lutwa never spent even 5 minutes in the conference.
Why?
They were at the front line.
Oh.
Fighting.
They were on the front line fighting.
Yes. And in 3 months, Idi Amin had been removed. And came here and with the National Consultative Council, and I was appointed Minister of State for Community Development. Rehabilitation and Community Development, which is now called the
Minister of Gender, Labour and Social.
Minister of Gender.
Oh, so you were a minister?
Yes.
In Museveni's government, what?
No, that was National Consultative. Sorry, yeah, National Consultative Council.
After the fall of Amin.
The interim government, which is yes. You remember that not many days Ure was also removed, and people were singing here to Ure.
I heard of those sayings.
Yeah.
Ah.
But
So
I served as a minister. I started the Presbyterian Church in Uganda.
you are the founder of the Presbyterian Church in Uganda.
Yes, sir. And we have a university, and I'm the chancellor, the first chancellor of that university.
Wow. Wow, wow,
That's
wow.
from the university now in Uganda.
Mm, 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 mm. So how do you leave the political service to the religious service, as you're saying you're the founder of the Presbyterian, yet you were a minister?
2011. Yes. No, one.
Just recently?
2001. I was in the UPC government first, and I was a member of parliament for this area. It was Mukono East.
So you were a member of parliament in the UPC government?
Yeah, and I was a member of parliament to this National Consultative Council, the interim government. I've served in that member of parliament 3 times.
3 times?
Yeah, then where I went, I stood in Kayunga North as a member of parliament on the NRM card. And I retired. I retired after that one because I wanted to concentrate working with the homeless street children. And of course, the church was also taking a lot of my time because we have over 250 something congregations now in Uganda.
200,000.
We have a university at where. Yes.
Wow, wow.
So I came as a founder and director of the Presbyterian Church.
What does Presbyterian mean? Is it I know it's different from the Pentecost, and maybe your doctrine could be a little bit different, because I have a friend of mine, Pastor, he's now Reverend David Baguma. He's my neighbor actually. I also did him on the same show. But I see there's some doctrines which are different from the Pentecostal.
Baguma is a product of Africa Foundation.
Glovey Logistics Limited, your number one custom stealing and forwarding cargo consolidation warehouse company. We do air shipment, worldwide sea shipment, transportation, tax consultation. Glovey Logistics Limited is a competent company specializing in logistics scaling and forwarding services. We have the necessary skills and resources and partnerships to tackle sizable projects to our clients' satisfaction. We are located at Mganzaraza Plaza near the entrance of Katwe, Kampala, Uganda. Call us on +256 779 634 328 or +256 701 784 648, or visit our website glovylogistics.com or write to johnglovey@gmail.com. Glovey Logistics Limited, your number one clearing and forwarding company.
He's a product.
Yes, and as you know, he was the head of the World Bank.
Yes,
Bank.
he was working with the World Bank.
For some time.
Yes.
But you know, even without the Presbyterian Church, there will be no Pentecostal churches. Because
Is that true?
The man who left the Catholic Church, Martin Luther, he was a professor and a doctor. He was a professor in the Catholic universities.
He was an academician, not even a priest.
Yeah, no, he was a priest, but from Germany.
From Germany.
Otherwise, if he was not from Germany, he would have been killed. But Germany was contributing a lot of money to the Roman Catholic Church. So he wrote his thesis, 95 points, why he should leave the Catholic Church, and why the Pope shouldn't be regarded to that be a man that can forgive sins. And the story of Mary, we deny the completion of that story. And sacraments, for us, we have 2 sacraments. Catholic Church have 7 sacraments. All these things were written and denied by Martin Luther. He was almost killed. But because of being a German,
Yes.
they never killed him. But he's the one who started reformed churches in this world. You know, you go to America, many of the churches there are Presbyterian. Even the Anglican Church, which comes as the British Church, it comes from the Reformation because King Henry VII wanted to marry another woman. But the Pope would not allow that. So he entered the Reformation.
Yes.
And that's where the Anglican Church comes from. It comes from that revolution.
How about with the Pentecostals?
Pentecostals wouldn't started anything because during the rule of the Pope wouldn't start any church anywhere. They would bring you and kill you. So that freedom or revolution started in the Catholic Church is brought by Martin Luther. So now you can start any church anywhere. Yes, that freedom comes with the Reformation. But we have, for us, we don't have bishops.
Oh, you don't have bishops?
No, but we have the General Assembly. We have the Presbytery, that's like a diocese, and we have the first session of the church. The church is ruled by elders, not by one man.
Elders. So no pastor that I own this place and a
church in our a pastor in our church does not belong to that church. He belongs to the presbytery, which appoints him. And when you misbehave, you are called back to the presbytery.
But you believe in miracles because you were part of the miracle performers.
We believe in miracles.
How about women preaching?
No, we don't allow. You read Paul saying the woman will not allow a woman to exercise authority.
That's another religious issue. Maybe Dr. Sarah Dan Chiganda can explain.
But women have services to the children, to the elderly. They have several services in the church, but not as a pastor.
How about baptizing? Do you baptize kids or old people?
We do baptize kids.
Where is it in the Bible?
Eh?
Where is it in the Bible?
Why?
I need to know because I'm seeing Jesus was baptized when he was old. I'm not seeing kids baptized in the Bible.
But there are people being baptized in the Bible with their children. That one you cannot deny.
You will show me a scripture next time when we come. But tell me, this work of humanitarian, there was even a musician who spoke about, who mentioned you in his music, Maddox.
Yes.
He said that you touched this country and beyond. How many people have gone through your hands? Because my mom is also a witness. Yes. My mom, Esther Nasuna, is now, I think, 63 years. She told me that you sponsored her education at YMCA when she was doing a course for teaching.
I sponsored, or I took from the street over 6,000 children.
6,000 children?
Yes, and my last office was just built on this Katosi Road. Our biggest house was just, of course, at Danville, a place called Danville. But we had, at one time, we had over 9 homes in the Kampala.
9 homes.
Until our children said, we're now old enough, why don't we put our own school? And we put up a school, so children, not from the street, good families would bring their children here because we had very good education and we had the money. Because we had, when I left the seminary in America, some of my fellow students became pastors in America, became pastors in England, Germany, Australia. So we used to get clothes As you know, our children will have many bicycles here, and people wonder why the miserable children have bicycles
Yes.
and our good children are not having bicycles.
And because of donations.
The donation, we used to have a lot of money. We
Wow.
had a lot of money. By now, most of those pastors have grown old.
Oh.
So I cannot get money from those pastors anymore. But I'm trying my best to see that we will bring back that home on Katosi Road. So that because the number of the homeless children, especially Karamojong children, are so many on the streets.
The issue of Karamojong children on Kampala streets is worrying. Even the First Lady was concerned.
Yes.
Kampala Capital City Authority tried to remove them. What is exactly behind the Karamojong kids?
Well, about 10 years ago, some Karamojong women, mothers, used to bring their children in the streets of Kampala. The children would spend several hours begging money, but that money goes to the mother.
Oh.
Now some fellows in Kampala thought that was a smart idea. Why don't we go to Karamoja or Sorot and buy these children and bring them over to Kampala to do the same job? They are begging, but at the end of the day, those big fellows, they may give to this student 2,000, and the child has collected about 20,000. He gives to this child 2,000, and the child is happy. Yes. So that's the way that the story started of getting children, smuggling young children from Karamagi as a source of income, and they're doing that. And these people, you see them on the streets. They are walking up and down, making sure that the children are at work, and that is going on.
For more than 10 years, Kivumbi International Group has been your number one partner in tours and travel consultancy. We also do real estate, legal services, ICT services, and much more. Find us on kibinternationalgroup.com or write to us at info@kibinternationalgroup.com. You may also write to us at PO Box 35827 Kampala, Uganda, or visit us on Namaswahi off Entebbe Highway. Call us on +256 200937566 or +256 3948632 or 46. Or you can send us a plus on WhatsApp on +256 752 1375 66. Cab International Group, your number one rail business partner.
So I feel that for my old age, senior citizen,
Yes,
I should resume that work.
you should.
Because I have a lot of trust from parents and from children.
Wow.
Even when they hear my name.
Your name is so famous in this country.
I am for them.
Wow, wow,
Yes.
wow.
So I spend some sleepless nights when I see the number of children on the streets. Because unlike, orphans, an orphan has a home. But homeless street children on the street, you meet him today, but there's no guarantee that you find him the following day. Because they keep on moving.
They keep on moving.
Yes. But I hope to work with the KCC, because KCC, they get the children and they take them to campaigns. And campaigns are a terrible place.
It's a terrible place.
The child comes back worse than when he was taken to campaigns.
Oh.
Yes. And my feelings is that we should be able to work and help these children. And by the way, street children are very smart. One of the child I picked from the street cafe is now in Europe, teaching white people how to remove what you call this disease here, honey. Because
from the streets, he became a doctor.
He's a doctor,
and
but now he's a consultant. He's telling the white people how to remove honey. Because he was in Yugoslavia, and they went to practice. He invented his own method. White people, you produce what they give you. What they teach you is what you do. And for him being a street child, he said, our father referring to me, our dad told us always to add something. So he grew up his own method, and he was almost chased out from the university. But the patients said, no, don't remove that, don't talk to that doctor. Because when he was removing my hernia, I didn't feel it. And another one, and another one, and another one. So if he finished and came to Uganda, worked out in there. And when I was here, some people from Yugoslavia came. I said, you know this fellow called Dr. Kafka? I said, yes. Is it true that you picked him from the streets? He said, yes. And he said he wrote in our book that I was living on the street. I was picked by a reverend. Are you the one who did this? I said, yes. So when they were going, they said, the reason why we are here is that we come to ask your permission. We want to take this child to Yugoslavia to teach our 5 people how to use his own method. And that's what he's doing now.
Oh my God. Oh my God. This is incredible.
Yes.
The lives that you have touched.
And he drives a car bigger than mine. And he has put a house at Jibuye bigger than mine.
Yet yours is also like a state house. Wow, wow.
Yeah, that's how God has kept us. And the children of Akpa Foundation, they have what on this phone, so they communicate. And they get to know each other. They know who is suffering, who is making, they communicate. And they say to me, when you start your home, you come and help. Because that's where we are coming. So what we are doing at Katosi, on the road to Katosi, is not a new. It's not a new thing.
Wow, wow, wow.
And our children are, even those who are picked in 1980, children are brought here from Karamoja.
You also picked some from Karamoja?
Yes, many. I have about 10 Kefas in Karamoja. When they get a boy child, they call him Kefa.
Oh my God, what a legacy. I've been told that you have ever donated 1 square mile of land. Is this true?
Namatala in Kangurumira. Because
1 square mile.
This man Karangwa was picking some men, people burning their houses, schools, mosques, and they're taking some. He will say if you have 5 acres, 10 acres, he will give you 500,000. But you say, if you say no, you take it to Narufenya and put you in prison until you accept that 500,000. And then also they will tie your fingers in 2. In 2 weeks, these fingernails are out. So when I saw that, I became sympathetic. So I gave that land, and now the people are happy. We have a church there in Namatala.
Namatala is in which district?
Namatala is, when you reach Bari, you have, of course, the swamp, and you get Namatala.
It's in part of Buganda?
Yes. That land I bought from near Galilei. Near Galilei, but Bari. So on that side of Bari. I bought that land from the man who built me in Bari. What was that? Do you remember his name?
It's called the Semeka Kunguru.
Kakunguru.
You bought it from Semeka Kunguru?
Yes, but from his children. They're the one who sold me that land.
At how much?
I don't remember.
That must have been a lot of money.
That time land was not very.
But the title is genuine?
Yes. Kakunguru.
Do you still have more land? You can also give me Chikumi.
No, I cannot give you. Land has become a very big issue in this land, and some people get harassed.
True.
Yes. But it's our prayer that people will normalize.
Wow.
Welcome to Princess Branding Services. Do you have a party, introduction, or you have lost a loved one and you intend to do burial or branding, at Princess Branding Services, they do branding for baby shower, political rallies, and all kinds of celebrations and functions. Contact us for great and friendly, affordable prices. We will brand your t-shirts, capes, bottles, umbrellas, photos, bags, frames, and much more. Contact us on the number on your screen. +256 783 20 95 79 or +256 744 580326. Email princessbranding256@gmail.com.
Wow.
So I have my trust in Museveni. That things can change.
I was about to
Because
ask you.
He fought for this land, and has had several wars, including the Moshi one, to see that this land is being liberated. And I don't think Museveni can give in for people to suffer, because as all his life he has fought for this land.
At least you know him better. You were with him in Moshi.
I know him.
Do you still meet and talk?
Even in our national, our interim government, he was deputy minister for defense. So we worked together. I was also a minister. So
you work together.
I know Mr. Museveni.
Wow. Yeah. Do you still meet and talk on phone, or you have some private meetings?
We don't have that. We don't have. But we know each other. We know each other.
Wow.
And he's a man committed to who. And I think where things are going wrong, he will bring it back, because that's how he lived before. Yes.
By the time when you first, did you first meet him in Moshi, or you had met before?
I think we met in Moshi. But Museveni had also served in the APC.
And you were also from UPC?
Yeah. So I can say we have a lot in common.
Oh my God. As we prepare to finish our senior citizens talk tonight, is there something that you would like to tell our generation or the people who are watching?
I think our generation, there are many things that need to be learned. But of course, some of them have never seen the Kayuki period.
What is Kayuki?
Kayuki is a plant, but during this time, as you know, people will leave their home at 7 and go have supper and live under the Kayuki, under the trees, in the fearing that they live in their home.
They built homes but fear to live in them.
Yes, which you don't see now. But some of our young people, they also no, we also want to suffer. We also want to experience. What do you experience? You can't experience war, because it's dead. You really see what was left here with the war.
I visited
Masaka was almost finished.
Yes, I saw old buildings, but I also visited Kololo some time back, and I would see good houses in ruins.
Yes.
I say, is this still Kololo?
War is not anything to long for. Well, for us senior citizens, our desire is to live in peace, in harmony. We live in unity. You look at Uganda alone. From here to Masaka, Uganda used to have three districts.
But when I was growing up, Wakiso was in Hicgi.
Yes.
And in Hicgi, when you see it now and Wakiso, they are still big, and I was wondering. Yes. Imagine in Hicgi, staying in Namasuru, but it was in Hicgi still. So Uganda had 3.
Yes. And you know, Baganda went conquering one area to another. but expand between the kingdom of Uganda. People from that they have their language. You go to Bugere, you find these people called Banyara. They will never speak in Bunyara, but at night they speak in Bunyara. They have Baganda names. But people really comfortable.
Yes.
Unless somebody brings chaos here, Baganda are not for chaos. Yes, I think there are people that you can talk to. Yes.
I understand. It's been a pleasure to have you on the Senior Citizens Talk, and I think this is just the beginning of it. The interesting stories that we have come to know. One was Prophet John Ebiri, who we have actually gotten a ratification of his history from your teaching today, and we have also looked at Idi Amin and the suffering from when he went to exile, and how Uganda is also seeing the humanitarian work you have done impacted this country and beyond. Reverend Dr. Kefa Ssempangi, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much.
I'm blessed. On the camera today has been Senator Abraham Brondon and also Faith Barbara Ruhinda here in Mukono on the shores of Lake Victoria. My name is Kivumbi Earnest Benjamin, who has an honorary doctorate in humanity. Until next time.
The Senior Citizens Talk is brought to you by Africa at Heart, Heal the Planet Global Organization, HICGI News Agency. Subscribe right now to get our latest updates and every single Sunday. Don't forget also the Talk to the World show that is running every Thursday at 4 p.m. Subscribe here on YouTube and make your notification bell right here. HICGI News Agency. Visit us on hicginewsagency.com and find us on all social media platforms, on X, call it Twitter, on TikTok, Instagram and Facebook. HICGI News Agency. Subscribe now.